All right. So good evening to everyone who are joining us today to this virtual Tokyo International University ETRAC Alumni Association meetup. Um, my name is Wardon Yongjinda, or you could call me Ichi. I am the current vice chairperson of the Tokyo International University ETRAC Alumni Association, or TIU EAA. So first of all, we are very happy to welcome everyone to this meetup, and I would like to give a special thanks to all of our four speakers who have taken their time evening of in Saturday to join us today. Um, I will be the moderator today and co-moderated by Lin a member of our campus representative, the current fourth year student at TIU. So a few housekeeping note to all of you. First, the first thing is that this event is being recorded and we will later upload it onto our social media platform that would be YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. So please keep that in mind. Um, and also, we would like to know that this event will last approximately 1 hour. We will end around 8 p.m. Japan time. Please feel free to leave early or if you have any business to attend to. And also don't hesitate to invite your friend to be joining our event. Now with that out of the way, so let's begin the event. So these are our four speakers today. Um, the first one is Michi Saki. She graduated in 2018 with a business and economics or BE degree. She is Filipino Japanese and she is currently a luxury marketing student at INSEC and also a global communication intern at Philip Morris International. Our next speaker is Renata Christine P, or as her friend or Atta. She is also a PE student who graduated in 2019. She is Indonesian and she is currently working as a freelance illustrator, and she is also a 3D animation diploma student at CCA Spectrum. Our next speaker is from Switzerland, is Andres Schetti, also a BE student who graduated in 2018. He is currently working as a real estate program coordinator at Firmenich. And last but not least is Lexi Kitenchi. She is an international relation or IR student who graduated this year. She is Japanese and Kenyan, and she is currently working at Kaya Japan as an account manager. So for this event, the flow of the event is that we will begin with the panel discussion. We will ask the speaker two main questions, and after that, we will move into a Q&A discussion. If you have any questions about their current jobs or any question about their time at TIU or their current works, please feel free to write it down into the chat, and my co-moderator, Linley, will take note, and we will take those questions up and ask all of these four speakers during the Q&A discussion. So first of all, I would like to begin with the first question about what is their job is actually about. What is their job or their current status is about? So I would like to begin with Lexi.
Hi, everyone. So I work as an account manager at this company called Kaya Japan. We mostly handle Olympic bookings, and I mostly handle like media clients and like public government organizations or like people who work for the government. So mostly embassies and stuff. Yeah, that's really all I do.
Right, that's really interesting, handling Olympic booking. So how is it going right now with the Olympics being postponed for 1 year due to the COVID-19?
So for a while there, we weren't like even sure if they were gonna do it or not. So for up until like this month, honestly, it was mostly a lot of paperwork, a lot of like renegotiating contracts with hotels and apartments. So there's a lot of paperwork. But now that like the IOC has like announced that they're officially doing it and stuff, the providers are more willing to work with us. So it's gradually becoming more groundwork as well. So there's a little bit more movement on the ground now. Yeah.
Right, that's really interesting. Let's move next to Michi. So what is you currently doing, Michi?
So I am on my last year of my master's. And so right now I'm interning for Philip Morris. I am in their global communications team. The reason I kind of really wanted to go and get headquarters experience. And so I joined Philip Morris and kind of was able to get a full view of the different transformation that's happening within the company. And so we create content. My team creates content because most of our products are science and tech based. And so I work closely with a lot of scientists and getting to explain to a much broader audience the science behind the Philip Morris brand.
That's really interesting. So what kind of content did you create? Is it more social media like, or is it more
Well,
like
we have a website, and also, so we have created we've shot a lot of interviews with our scientists, for example. And so when you get that piece of content, you kind of have to diversify, right? So LinkedIn, obviously social media, also web content as well. And we do partner a lot with a couple of newspapers as well. And so kind of feeding into that content. So writing, yeah.
So when I go to Philip Morris International YouTube channel and see all this explanation about that work, that is your work, right?
Well, I mean, not necessarily just me, like it's a
But your
massive
contribution.
company. Yes, so well, the platform that I handle is called PMI Science. And so it's if you go to pmiscience.com and PMI Science on Twitter, on LinkedIn, that's kind of the platform that the team that I intern for.
And that is really interesting. Everyone make sure to check that out after this event. And since you are just right next to each other, let's move on to Andre.
Yeah. So I work for a company called Firmenich. It's basically a chemical engineering company that specializes in making perfumes and flavoring. But my position in the company has nothing to do with that scientific part. I work in their global real estate team. I'm currently working on a program, which is a portfolio optimization program. So I basically look at all the real estate assets that the company has and try to find places where we could optimize the spaces to reduce costs. Or, you know, if we have like buildings that have a lot of vacancy and such, I basically prepare a pipeline and then we work on projects worldwide to try to optimize the portfolio.
That is so interesting. So I assume since it is a perfume company, so are like all the location are like on the high street. We're talking about shops here, or are there also about like factories or another kind of stuff?
So I specialize in offices and labs. So everything that is offices and labs, usually we look at it and, you know, we really try to optimize the spaces to be cost efficient and not have too much surplus. Yeah, we just look at everything that we have around the world. But for me specifically, it's more labs and offices rather than manufacturing or industrial.
That's so interesting. So is your focus mainly Europe, or is it like other regions as well?
No, yeah, I focus on everywhere. I currently have projects in Asia, in the Americas, in Europe, everywhere.
All right, thank you very much. Now let's move on to Atta. So what are you currently doing?
Thanks, Ichi. So right now I'm studying 3D animation through this online digital arts and animation college called CG Spectrum. And on top of that, I also do freelance illustration to earn some money on the side. So for what I study is basically I learn like the basic principles of motion and animation and basically practice those principles to apply to animating humans and animals and eventually fighting scenes as well and like flying creatures. So that's pretty exciting. And yeah, for my illustration freelancing, it's pretty straightforward. You know, I look for job posts and clients through this platform called Upwork. And through there, I kind of have the liberty to choose the job post that I'm interested in and apply. So yeah, I'm pretty lucky for this year. I've been getting a project that, you know, that's been sustaining me monthly. So that's it. Yeah. Thank you.
That's fascinating. So still staying in this question. So let's add COVID-19 into the equation. So how did COVID-19 impact your study or your work? Like, does you get more work because now everyone is working remotely? So people tend to more likely to like approach you to get you to do one of your works.
Right. Yeah, the reason why I chose the online college is because I had plans before to you know, to move to Canada for an actual school, but you know, because of the whole thing, my visa got suspended, and you know, the school as well is still doing like online education. So you know, I had to make a tough decision to just pivot because you know, even until now, my visa is still suspended. So if I didn't change course, I would have been just waiting around, you know. So, but for my illustration job, like my clients are usually individuals as well, not really big corporate companies. So it's always, yeah, I don't think the pandemic affected much of that. Thank you.
So does you start your part-time job as an illustrator after you realize that your visa got suspended and you had to adapt, or have you been doing that since when you were in TIU?
Yeah, I've been illustrating, I think from last year of college, so my fourth year. I got my big first project from then, and just, you know, progress up until now.
That's great. I respect the hustling spirit and you got to do it. Right. Right. So let's move on to our real estate man right here. So how did COVID-19 impact your job, Andre? Like, does it make the client, your company more focused on, okay, we need to cut costs, and that is why place more important into the real estate department?
Well, yeah, I mean, it obviously impacted because a lot of people around the world have been working from home for many months. To be honest with you, I've been working from home since March and still haven't gone back to the office. And so obviously, yeah, that definitely impacts the real estate side of it and the portfolio. Also because, you know, now companies are starting to realize that, you know, flexible working policies may be maybe something that they could consider in the future. So if you have people working from home maybe 1 day a week or 2 days a week, or you're more flexible, then obviously the requirements that you have for the space that you need, they change. And so you can also, reduce your space or try to optimize the portfolio with that.
Yes, of course. So what about you, Michi? Does the fact that everyone is now at home, so does company now focus to creating content online on your company website to make sure that they take the full opportunity of the fact that everyone is now more likely to see that content because they are at home?
Well, I mean, I guess a little bit yes and no. It's a lot harder to get content, right? Because, for example, a lot of our videos kind of showcase the laboratory, our R&D facilities. And right now we can't really have access to that because of COVID. And so it's fun because you kind of get to be a little bit more creative, and there's a lot of other opportunities that you can do. But I guess it's a bit tough just because also I just started, and when I started, it was already on lockdown. I mean, for us here in Switzerland, we have to be working from home. And so, you know, when you're joining a new team, and I'm sure it's the same for everybody, it's a bit tough when all the interactions are virtual. Like you kind of have to build a rapport with your team. And that's something that was just completely a different experience for me. It's tough enough to join a team, and it's kind of a little bit more of a pain point when you're online. But yeah, it's thankfully everyone in that I work with are amazing and very supportive, and so they're very receptive to my ideas. And yeah, it's been good.
That's great. And that is a good thing for all the students attending this meetup to hear about when you are just joining a new job, right? Building rapport with your team as a big point. Lexi, we already touched on it a little bit with the Olympics situations in Japan, but what is it like working from home right now? Is that a big change?
So when I interviewed with this company, most of my work was supposed to be based around the clients. I was supposed to be on the ground, like guiding the clients and all of that. But because of COVID, we had to kind of shift, and everyone on the team, it's a really small office. We had like 12 people in the Japan office. We all had to like move and deal with the providers, which is not something I signed up for or anything I wanted to do. So in the beginning, it was really tough having to like, you know, navigate a new field basically, and having to work with Japanese providers who can be quite stubborn. So, but in terms of like working, yeah, from home, this is not anything I expected. My work was more ground based. So it's been hard adjusting, but you know, you make it work. Yeah, so.
That's perfect. Right? We all have to adapt during this difficult time. So now I want to move on to the second questions. Let's see. All right. Why did you choose your current job / major? So let's start with Lexi. So how did you come to find this job at Kaya Japan?
So after I graduated, I was looking for, well, it all started when in the beginning, I thought I wanted to do consulting. And so I interned at a consulting firm, found out it wasn't the job for me. So I was kind of back to square one, but I always knew in the back of my head, I wanted to work kind of in relations to the Olympics, even if it's just as like a volunteer. And so when I went to like a recruiting firm, they were like, okay, here's a position. Like you work with a company that handles the Olympics. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. It was supposed to be a short-term contract. It was only supposed to be like 7 months, but now it's going on. It's probably going to be like a 1.5-year contract. But I just kind of like stumbled upon the job. I didn't really have any connections or like people I knew in the company.
Right. And why is the Olympics specifically? Like, is it because you like sport, or is it because you like the spectacle of it, or because you are interested in event management?
I think it was more of a just a sheer interest in wanting to be a part of something so big. And not many people can say they were a part of the Olympics when it was happening in like their home country. So it was kind of selfish. I just wanted to have that memory with me. And yeah, the job just kind of like fell into my lap, so I just took it.
Right. That's great. And now you are also experiencing another one in a lifetime kind of Olympics with the pandemic going on. So that is things to share
Yeah,
people in the
it's
future.
crazy.
That is crazy. So let's switch it up a little bit. Let's move on to Atta, Renata. So why did you choose to? I understand that at the beginning you wanted to go to Canada, and due to the COVID-19 throw the wrench into it, things got shake. But have you always been interested in illustrations since TIU?
That's a good question. So I have been interested in like, in pursuing my creative path, I guess. I think since like second year or something, but at the time I did realize that it wasn't concrete yet, my motivation. It's only, and at the time too, like I had a strong desire to want to experience Japan, like living in Japan, work, internships and learning Japanese and stuff like that. So I feel like it's not until the very end that, my motivation to pursue what I'm doing right now grew stronger. And also like I have the privilege of, my parents still, wanting to finance me with my studies. So that's a great contributor too. So.
Right. So are you like right now studying / working from Indonesia?
Yeah. All online.
Right. So how is the experience like studying online courses be like? Because I have never taken any course online. All my courses are like in person. So could you tell us a bit more about our student that might join us in this call?
Yeah. So the process is they would send me educational materials like PDFs or videos to follow through, and every week there's also assignments, and then at the end of the week we would have Zoom Q&A session with the actual mentor, and then they would the mentor would give us feedback. And after that, we revise our assignments from there. And also after the revision, the mentor will give us like a final recorded feedback. So one recorded feedback and one live Q&A every week. So, but yeah, there's that social aspect that they're missing, because like I can't really make friends with people. I mean, I can, but it's kind of weird, so yeah, there's that.
And what about the job, right? Was that something you're really interested in and want to get it into at the beginning since your time at TIU?
The freelance illustration, like I also was more motivated to do that, from third year or fourth year too. I was focused a lot on Japanese and trying to do internships and stuff, and maybe I do realize that eventually throughout up until the end of my experience, I eventually realized that maybe like the Japanese office working stuff is not for me. I do realize also like my Japanese wasn't at the best, so yeah, that's why I turned into illustration, because at least I have that I can work towards too. Yeah.
Right. That's a great point. So let's move on to Andre. How did you get into real estate? Right. That's really interesting.
So yeah, it's actually very interesting. I wasn't planning on getting into real estate. So after graduating TIU, I worked for a year in Tokyo as a product manager for a startup that was developing an app. And so that's totally unrelated. But then in September 2019, we decided to move to Switzerland. And once I got here, I really looked at, all jobs that were, junior level, and that were kind of some program management, something that I was already sort of familiar with, even though, the industry is not the same. The basis of project management, the core of it, it's always pretty much the same. And so, yeah, I did a couple interviews, and then eventually I decided to go for this job, which was in real estate. But I've always been interested in real estate myself because my dad was also in real estate, and it's always been something that I wanted to learn more about.
But really, really interesting. So what is like working in Switzerland compared to working in Japan? Like, was it a complete?
I love how you call it Switzerland.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, so it's I mean, I guess it's really different. First of all, you have a lot more vacation in Switzerland than you have in Japan. Other than that, I'm not sure. What do you think?
Okay.
I don't know.
No, I think it's for me personally, because I also worked in Japan before I moved here. The lifestyle is completely different. I think the working hours are it's very different, and just this whole mindset on what work is supposed to. Well, obviously I don't want to generalize, but just what I was noticing was that the mentality of work, I grew up in such like your typical Asian household where as a child you're like, so what are you going to be when you grow up, like consistently, right? And so that's kind of like, oh, you need to be able to support yourself, which is valid enough, completely, it's important. But here it almost feels like they're much more, I don't know, it's cheesy as it sounds. It's like you kind of like you work to live, but you don't live to work. And I've always felt that like in Asian culture a little bit, like, or for maybe my upbringing, it's like you live to work. So it's kind of work is everything. But here it's a little bit more balanced, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to move here as well.
Yeah, everyone is nodding. I'm nodding. That's right.
You definitely work less hours here.
Yeah,
Definitely.
you work less hours and yeah.
But still 5 days a week?
Yeah.
Or is it
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
40
Five
hours, your regular, yeah.
But I'm sure there's going to be a shift though, because in Japan, I don't know, are you guys working from home in Japan, or what's the company policy? Is it like, for example, Lexi, are you working
Yeah,
from
I'm
home, or
still working from home. I've been working from home since like mid-March. So
do you feel like, I don't know, there's less micromanagement because you're not in the same office space?
it's more
Opposite.
like my company makes
Yeah.
me write a daily report that my COOs read. So it's worse that I work from home. I want to go back to the office so bad.
Yeah, and so that's kind of like it sucks sometimes because you're like being micromanaged, and I felt that too when I had like different experiences in Japan. But I feel like here it's more well, in my company it's more execution, right? So it's like, okay, this is your deadline and do it, whatever, like just deliver. But it's not like, okay, have you done this step? No, 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 which is, for me, it's the type of working style I want for myself. But obviously it depends on what you prefer.
Yeah, that's a great point. So you feel that they treat you more like, let's see, this is going to sound bad, but they treat you more like an adult. Like, okay, we are all adults here. Here's the deadline. We do not care how you like portion your time, but as long as you reach the goal, the company is fine with that.
Yeah.
Is that how would you?
Yeah. Yeah, but
Yeah.
obviously you can reach out for support, right? Like I don't know everything, so I ping my manager. There's a lot of like Microsoft Teams, Slack, all these communication channels. That it's, I mean, let's be honest. Like I think it's tough. Obviously, remote work is a bit tough, but there's a lot of positives to it as well. And just like portioning your time and having a life outside of work, which should be important for everybody.
Which is difficult right now.
Which you can't go outside, so.
Another question on, since we are talking on this topic, how do you guys feel about not having to commute to work anymore? Is that much better now that you don't have to spend half an hour to go to work? Lexi? How are you?
So I
We lost you.
I can't hear you, Lexi.
Han.
sorry, I'm still learning how computers work. But basically I have to commute into central Tokyo. So like if I can avoid like having to go into the train, I'll take that any day. But I moved closer to Tokyo, so it's only like a 20-minute train ride, but even then I'd rather not do it. So yeah, in that aspect it's great.
Perfect. What about you, Vici, Andre?
Yeah, for me, it's a longer commute than Lexi, so it takes me like 45, 50 minutes. And so, yeah, I mean, I won't lie, especially now that the weather's getting colder and we're getting close to winter. I'm happy that I don't have to wake up early and, and go all the way to the office. But at the same time, like Atta mentioned before, the social aspect of it is what I miss most. So yeah, I guess there's good and bad for home office. But yeah, so far it's been okay for me. No, not too many challenges.
All right. As someone who is both working and also studying at home right now, like does not having to commute to school to work, like does that help or is there issue? And I have the issue with that.
No, there's no issue. I commute from my room to my laptop. And it's been great. So yeah, it's just convenient, But I guess overall, I miss everything social, Like, I have more time to focus on assignments and work because I have all the time in my house. But there is that that border between like, oh, when should I just take a break? Like I can't be drawing or studying all the time. Sometimes I do struggle with that. Yeah.
Perfect. And with that, we end the panel discussion and move on to Q&A. So all our participants, if you have any question that you would like to ask any of our speakers, please post this onto the chat and Lindley will help us go through each of them. So I will now pass the baton to Lindley. So Lynn, so what kind of questions do you have right now?
Hi. So at the beginning of the webinar, I saw two students sending out the questions. So the first question is, what can an IR major do during their bachelor's to get a good job after graduation? So that is the first question. So is there any speaker, an IR student here who can answer that question?
Lexi!
Sure. So to be on, so the question is, what can someone do to get a better job in the IR field? To be honest, finding a job related to IR in Japan is really hard. Japan doesn't really have a lot of openings for IR in general. But one thing you can do, I also don't think I'm the best person to ask because with anyone, I feel like anyone will tell you just work on your Japanese. Without it, there's not really, you can't even get into like like, especially if you want to work for like a governmental, like an international, like related company, they'll be like, what's your level in Japanese? And if you're not like business level, unless you're bringing other like unless you've been in the field 5 years and you're bringing experience, they're not gonna really look at your resume. So I say really, if you have any free time, just keep working on your Japanese. Yeah.
Thank you.
So it's very general, but
all right. Because we only have one IR student here, so as an IR student, I will also jump into this question. So we actually had an event called "What Could IR Students Like Do After Graduation After that" in a webinar prior to this one, and basically the summary of that is that it is always going to be quite difficult to find a job that is directly related to IR. Why? For a simple reason that IR is such a broad field. So you will need specialization. So what I would suggest is that after 3 or 4 years of international relations studies, you have to decide, do I want to continue to this part? If that is your choice, then I suggest that you follow your esteemed senpai who have went to so many prestigious universities across the world that just go into master and then go into PhD after that. If international relation or other related field, conflict study, political science is a thing that you are interested in. If not, we would suggest you to find a job, right? Jump into the having a career. It doesn't have to be related to an IR. What you could do while you were still a student is that you could do as many intern as possible. reach out to us or to the senpai who graduated in our network. We have many people who has interned at an embassy, at international organization, research organization. We could help you guys connect with you. Just reach out to our social media and we will help you guys. So that would be my advice. But let's twist this question a bit. So what can a BE major do during their bachelor to get a good job after graduation? Let's start with Michi.
I think with job hunting, it's literally the same thing for every field you want to go into. Like it's the same steps and we all know this. It's literally, I could say it again, you have to network, you have to study whatever language you want, wherever you want to work. You kind of have to, have these internships, and it's really just doing it, right? We all know what we should be doing. We all have this. Google, like literally just Google names and send in LinkedIn messages, which can be really tough. But I think that's one thing that I learned, is that there's always going to be someone willing to help you out. It might not be specifically, oh yeah, there's an opening here, but it's just would you like to have an informal chat, for example? I'm really interested in your time at whatever company. Would you be able to speak? Or maybe you're writing a paper in school. I think one thing that I wish I maybe used a little bit more when I was a student, when I was doing my bachelor's, is to use the fact that I was a bachelor student in reaching out to people and just being like, I'm writing a paper on your company. And okay, people like to talk about themselves. So get the person to talk about themselves, get the person to just be like, oh, this is my career path, and keep that connection and don't burn that bridge. And, also don't come in there looking for necessarily something that you want out of it, because like they know that you're a student hungry for a job, but it's just that relationship. And I think that even now during COVID, and we've been saying the social aspect is a bit tough, but people are also at home, and a 10-minute virtual chat, people are so used to it now. It's not something normal. It's not something weird anymore where it's like, oh, I'm just going to Skype with some random. It's like, no, we attend meetings, we attend webinars all online. And so this is something that you as a student, you really honestly just gotta hustle, because it's very competitive out there, and you gotta like squeeze out every single thing that you can squeeze out. And while you're in Japan, and if you're interested in working in Japan, use that to your advantage.
So thank you, Michi, for the super interesting and realistic advice. So I will move on to the next question. So there's a student asked, what do you learn in TIU outside of the subjects that helped you on your current jobs? So like outside the subjects that we learned at TIU, then what did the other things that you learned that helped you on the current job?
So,
like,
can I answer that one?
Yes, please.
So yeah, as I told you, so I'm working on projects all around the world, and so we have different stakeholders for every project. And really, one of the things that really helped from TIU is the wide, all the different nationalities that are present in TIU. There's people from literally everywhere around the world. So that really helped a lot, because, you start understanding different cultures better. It builds up sort of a sensitivity to certain things, and you start to understand like better, how people grew up and what are their views on certain things, or what could be regulations or things not to do in other countries. And this, for me, at least with the several stakeholders, that we have in our projects, was really helpful, because it really, like having that experience really helped me to be more comfortable with people from teams all over the world.
Thank you so much for sharing your experience. What about the other speaker, like Renata? Do you have any suggestions for students, or do you want to share anything?
I'm thinking. Well, outside of my subject, I mean, I honestly really liked doing internships outside of school, like I feel like that's where I most learned, just the little things about Japanese culture and getting to perform professionally in Japanese, and I think that people should go out and do that. Like I think what people tend to do when I was in school, like they're trying to find internships that focus on, I mean, that use English as well. But I think if you try to expose yourself to a 100% Japanese environment, I think you should definitely make full utility of that. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. What about Lexi? Do you have anything that you want to share about?
I think Andrea and Renata pretty much covered everything. Yeah.
Oh, okay, thank you. So I think we only have 2 questions. And so if there anyone want to ask anything, please feel free to type in the chat box so that the speakers can answer your questions. Oh, we have another question. He asked, do you guys have pets and how they coping with COVID-19?
I have a dog. Yeah, not with me right now, but my dog is with, you've met him, Steve. He's with my family in Japan and he's coping really well. He's gotten fat. He's great. He is chubby once more. Yeah, but I wish he was with you though. We wish he was with us. Thank you, Jack Everingham, for that very insightful question.
I have some turtles at home. They're fine.
I like turtles. How about you, Ichi? Do you have a pet?
I wish I have, but I do not have any. Right?
Are you in Japan right now? Or
I am not. I'm in Malaysia. Yeah, there are so many cats in Malaysia everywhere.
Mm.
I wonder, like, how do you deal with when you have a dog, like, and with COVID? So, like, does your parents have to take them out, or like to walk like every day? They just wear masks and run after them.
Okay. My parents live in Tochigi, Utsunomiya, and so they're not in a major city, so it's okay for them to walk the dog around. And yeah, it's actually even better. They said that it helps them as well because obviously, you have that responsibility of walking and going outside. It's kind of a reason to like walk around and get some fresh air, but obviously still making sure that you're adhering to safety measures. Yeah.
All right. Well, since no one is asking a question,
You can find photos.
I will ask one myself. Right. So, what do you guys wish you knew before you step into the office to work for the first time? Right. Let's start with Andre.
Andrea, he said.
What, me?
Yeah.
Can you ask again, Ichi? You asked what I wish I knew before stepping into the office?
For the first time, yes.
Well, I was very nervous, and I don't know. I was very nervous, and then I was really. At first, you're really worried when you have to send out emails to people that are way above you. And so, I don't know, it's weird. You feel so nervous, so scared to do it, something wrong. But, you tend to forget that the people you work with actually know that you just started and they know that you're a junior and that you're still learning. So at least for the companies I worked for, they weren't really, they will never judge you or be angry at you just if you do like small mistakes. So maybe something I wish I knew is that don't pressure myself too much. Maybe don't be too nervous before stepping into the office. Try to be confident And yeah, and I would also advise to learn how to use Excel. I think that's something that's very important for everyone out there. I would recommend you to maybe take an online course or something to get some
Really, guys,
proficiency.
take an
in
Excel class.
Do we have any Excel class? No, right? TIU? No, probably not.
Maybe,
right?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Not directly, yeah. I don't know about
Yeah.
Actually, I'm
technical.
learning a class called marketing modeling, and it's about applying Excel methods into
Oh,
like
nice.
marketing. Like
Wow.
to
That's-
summarize
Yeah, you-
data.
Yeah, everyone
Look
should
at
take that class.
TIU. Can I take it?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting class, and the difficulty level is like 400. So it's
Oh, wow.
actually really hard. Yeah.
Right. Lexi, what did you wish you knew before you step into the office for the first time?
What did I? Excel. Honestly, it has been the biggest nightmare for me for like the last 2 months. Other than that, like what Andrea said, like people know you're gonna suck in the beginning. And I think I was so afraid of like wanting to come across like I know more than I do, because that's how I sold myself at the interview. So I set the bar really high. And then I got to the job and I was like, oh, I don't know how to do any of that. And so in the beginning, I was trying to like save face and be like, oh, yeah, and then my senpais were just like, just ask. Like, no one's going to judge you the first 2 years. It's more awkward to ask after you've been in a place for a certain time. So just, yeah, as cliche as it sounds, just like, don't be afraid to like ask questions and make stupid mistakes. And always double check your emails. Once they're sent out, they're not coming back.
I would say triple check, as that's very important. Right. Michi, what about you?
What do I wish? Well, I think right now my attitude is just that a career isn't necessarily linear. And so, I was not doing anything that I'm doing now beforehand. For example, I was in recruiting. And so that's a little bit kind of farther away. But, we're all pretty much young. And I think during this time is when we're supposed to really kind of go out there and figure out what we like and don't like. And so I feel like it's really a try and error sometimes. Like, I graduated BE, but my master's right now is in luxury marketing. So it's a little bit kind of like there's not much yeah, exactly. Atta is learning animation. But there's some things that you can always I don't know, like carry over. Like Atta, I'm sure your BE classes help you out with being a freelancer, because now you're handling your own money, you're handling your own taxes and whatnot, if you're paying your taxes. But, yeah. And so, exactly. So it's kind of like just do it, man. Like, just don't be afraid to make mistakes, because we're all gonna make them anyway. So yeah.
And also, if you feel that you're somewhere and you don't feel good about it, just don't force it, because I don't know, you'll get depressed along the way, or you're just stressed out all the time. It's not good for you. Yeah.
Sorry, guys,
Perfect.
I have to leave now, but thank you so much. This was very valuable to me as well. I hope everyone gets the questions answered.
Thank you so much, Lexi. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you for
so
having
much,
me. I had fun. Bye.
You enjoy your evening. Bye bye. All right. Yeah. With 3 speakers remaining, if anyone have final questions to ask our esteemed speakers, this is the time. You can also just like raise your hand. Use the raising hand features, and we can just let you speak. All right. Well, if there is no further questions, then on behalf of the Tokyo International University E-Track Alumni Association, I would like to express my deepest gratitude to our 4 speakers And thank you very much, Atta, Michi, and Andre for taking your time, whether it's in the evening or in the afternoon in Europe, to spend time with us today. And this has been a very helpful session for all the participants. And to all the participants, thank you again for joining us. Please make sure to follow us on our social media platform, or if you have any question, you can directly email us through tiualumni@gmail.com. Follow us on our Facebook, our LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube channel at TIU Alumni or hashtag TIU for life. Thank you everyone again, and hope all of you have a great time. Bye bye everyone.
Bye. Thank you so much, Ichi.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Oh my God.